Welcome to Florida Focus, a college football podcast. We have a Florida State Seminole and a UF Gator together trying to put aside their differences and bring you the world of college football throughout the Sunshine State. Thank you for joining us. My name is Brandon. I'm joined by Chris. Today, we will cover the Florida State win over Wake Forest. We will talk about how the other teams that were in action around the state fared in the state of Florida. And we will preview Week 9. So given all of this, Chris, how you feeling about today's show, my friend?
I'm good. It's kind of a weird week, bye week. Not really know what to do and less prep for the show and everything. It's weird not having to stress out for a whole week. But the stress is starting again, for sure. But I don't know, get your thoughts on this. It kind of was just like a blah day of college football. But outside, obviously, for you, that you had a game to focus on as a Florida State fan. But outside of that, didn't really offer too much. And now I'm not complaining at all. Any blah day of college football is better than no day of college football.
Right.
I will take this any day. But just kind of compared to the other weeks that we've had and coming up, especially this week, it didn't really offer too much. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I completely agree. Florida, there were some highlights. Florida State struggled early in their win over Wake Forest. You certainly had the upsets. You had Purdue taking it to the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yeah, that one was the big surprise of the day.
Yeah,
for sure. That was actually really fun to watch. But outside of that, there's no other big games that we were looking forward to.
Yeah.
Wazoo and Oregon, maybe, but. We're on the East Coast, so it's not that big of a deal to us. But
I feel like you'd have to be, certainly going into the week, none of these were storylines. But by the end of the week, you're like, okay, some fun things did happen, but at the start of Saturday, there's really nothing to look forward to. Florida State struggled early, like I said. Purdue lose. You have game day out on the West Coast. By the way, I feel sorry for that crew. They have to wake up at 5 in the morning to do a show like that. It's just crazy.
That's when the show starts. That's not when all the prep and everything starts.
Good point. Wake up even before that, do their makeup and all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. We even, you and I do some picks here and there for some college football teams, and you're stretching to find 10 really good matchups.
Yeah.
So that's evidence right off the bat. Okay, this week doesn't have a whole lot. Now, looking back, yeah, sure, there were some highlights. UCF had their interesting quarterback choice. But there's not a whole lot there. And those are weeks where you're like, okay, I can tell this would be the week that Game Day chooses a really kind of random site to go do their game. And there's not a whole lot of excitement. So I completely agree. It's like somebody told me, if you go fishing, the worst day of fishing is better than the best day of work kind of deal.
Right. Absolutely right, yeah. I mean, it was nice to have something on the whole day. I still had it on. I still watched all day, followed it all day, but it's just kind of, compared to the rest of the weeks, it's just kind of, But I'll take it. I'm happy.
Absolutely. So, I guess we'll go back to our format, and thanks again, Jared, for being on the show last week. That was a lot of fun. We always gather a lot of knowledge there. So, this week we'll go back to our other format, which is we'll recap the games that were. So I guess the right place to start, Chris, is Florida State's win over Wake Forest, right?
Yes, yeah. That's a big one in our state, yeah.
Yes. So as I like to do, I'll talk about Florida State, the positives and then the opportunities. Man, is it good to recap a game where the positives outweigh the opportunities, let me tell you. I really think I was comfortable with this game up until a couple days before. Then I was like, man, if you can define it as an upset if Wake Forest wins, I was a little worried about that. Only because it started to really seep in that we had the 1-point loss to Miami. We had the week off by the hurricane. We only had 2 days of practice. This is a game where we could really come out slow. And as you saw with the game, that's exactly what happened.
Right.
Fortunately, that trend didn't continue. The positive things that Florida State did do in this game, they limited Greg Dortch. Now, I know he's confined by injury. He's had an ankle thing that's been going on for a couple of weeks now. But despite that, I think he's still the best wide receiver in the ACC. Arguably, Kelvin Harmon at NC State, you could put up there. But he only had 4 catches the entire game. So Florida State restricted his action. This is a guy that you usually see get upwards of 15 touches a game, rushing, returning kicks, whatever.
Right.
And Florida State limited him very well. I think the biggest takeaway, and you probably saw this too, Chris, was Cam Akers finally had one of those games where he looks in his old form.
Right.
13 carries, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had a very long touchdown run of 58 yards early in the third quarter that sealed the victory. So that's a great testament two ways. It's to see that he has his confidence back a little bit. I know it's against the worst division, or excuse me, the worst defense in the ACC. I get it. But you see the coaching that goes behind this. You know, the play before he busted that big touchdown, we ran essentially the same play. So the coaching staff is seeing what works, and out of the same formation, we will run 2 or 3 different types of plays. So good for the coaching staff to see the awareness there.
Right.
Continuing on the positives, we stopped a 4th and 8 late in the first quarter, and that's really what switched the tide of the game. Before that, we were trailing 10-0.
Yeah.
Nyquan Murray has a good effort again. He was one play he caught a pass in the red zone, and he just fought through 2 different tacklers to get it 1st and goal to 3, and then set up a touchdown the next play by Cam Akers. We scored 38 points. Now, for people outside of the ACC, you think, okay, it's really not a big deal for Wake Forest to travel to a school like Florida State. Any guess, Chris, and I know you're an SEC guy, any guess on what the student population is at Wake Forest?
Not at all. No, I wouldn't even know where to begin.
It's around 4,000 students.
That is way lower than I thought.
It's way tiny. It's one of the schools you look at, you're like, I don't know how you're like a Division I football program.
Right.
You're so small.
How do you have enough players to field a team?
Exactly. And okay, a bigger question. I know this is probably another topic, but how are you in a Power 5 conference?
Right. Yeah.
You have less than 4,000 students, or around there. It's not very much. So you look at this and you say, okay, you're traveling to Florida State, and the stat they'd like to throw at is just their limited success in Tallahassee. Lack of being able to score touchdowns. They just can't score points there. It's a real thing. You know, they scored 10 points early on, and then we give up 38 in a row to us. It's a big deal. So when you travel to a school that houses over 80,000 in their stadium, it is truly hard.
Yeah.
And so it's what they had success with in the late 2000s is even a bigger testament to them, but not successful in this day.
Right. Yeah.
Some other positives there, and there were quite a bit. Keith Gavin, you know, he's my guy. He had a long pass early in the second quarter, which looked like he might have put us in the red zone or even scored a touchdown on him. Fortunately, he let the secondary get to him. They punch out the ball, and he fumbles it, results in a touchback.
Yeah.
So it happens. I get it. He was even disappointed with himself right away, just didn't have ball control. Fortunately for the defense, 3 plays later, they get a deflection. It results in an interception by Samuels, and we end up scoring a touchdown. So some positives there. Certainly with an offense like ours, you have to take advantage of field position, and we did it. There was a couple of other guys, and you've talked about Brian Burns. Man, this guy has moved into All-American status. He has 9 sacks on the year.
Oh, yeah.
Second in the nation. By the way, he was actually pretty vocal. He said, I'm going to break Peter Boulware's record this season. Peter Boulware in 1996 had 19 sacks, which is insane. You're averaging 1.5 per game.
Right.
That's hard to do. You have to stay healthy. You have to have the right kind of conditions. Whew. He's
at 9 now?
9 for the season, yeah.
When we get and I don't know. No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? It's tough.
Look like who you have coming up.
Yes, the schedule. You're right.
Next 3 games alone.
Yep, and we'll get to my thoughts on the next 3 games. Well, spoiler, if you listen to our preseason preview, you'll notice my trend on the next 3 games, which is I figure we lose all 3 of them. We'll get more on that later. But yeah, the competition alone may rule him out for that. But
that's what I think. I'm not saying he's not talented enough to do it.
Yep.
Because he's looking like he's there, but competition makes me wonder on that one.
Absolutely. So that's his goal. Well,
But
that'd
why
be great.
not though? Like, so if you come short of 19 and you're at 17, you still had pretty good.
Absolutely.
Pretty good season.
What's the old phrase? If you shoot for the moon and you miss, you land among the stars.
Yes.
So he's still gonna get in the double digits, which he's close there already. So good for him. I even heard someone saying, the best athlete on the team is DeAndre Francois. I'm like, no, it's either Cam Akers or Brian Burns.
I think Burns.
Yeah, Brian Burns. Even in this game, they put him on special teams. Nearly got a punt block.
Nice.
I mean, he's just all over the field. Next, we'll put him on, the extra point, and
he's gonna be returning soon.
He's returning.
Calling it.
Return some kicks. He's gonna lead or have him as a blocker out there for DJ Matthews. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
I could see him at tight end. I really could see him special goal line package tight end leaking out.
Hey, there you go. Or put him in the fullback spot.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool. Give him as much touch as you can. And you know what? You see other teams do that. If you got an athlete who can move the ball, who can move, who can get past some people, hey, why not? Give it a shot.
Yeah.
So it's been really exciting. He's certainly been the highlight of the season for me. And I named him as, the number one defensive returning starter. I did not expect this. He has exceeded expectations by far, so good for him. And just some other small things we did right. Like I mentioned, DJ Matthews, he's getting more touches. We had 5 sacks on the game. We had 98 return yards on special teams. Trayshawn Harris, he's a wide receiver. Hasn't gotten a lot of looks this year, but man, he put a move on a secondary guy, just made him look silly. He caught the pass, and he just turned on a dime, which is funny for 2 reasons. You can actually turn on a dime, which is tiny, but you can also run against a dime defense. Okay, you get it.
Okay, I got you. Turn on. Okay.
And he turned into a touchdown. So good for him. There was a lot of second-string guys getting a lot of action in this game. But the biggest story, I guess, you can't ignore is Janaris Robinson, our defensive end. He had a really rough week. He was from Panama City, Florida. And Hurricane Michael did a lot of damage to his house, completely leveled it. The NCAA gave him permission to set up a GoFundMe account, and it raised over $100,000 in a week.
Wow.
The fans, everybody involved, everybody that caught wind of the story started donating, and it turned into a revelation overnight. So he actually got a tackle for loss in this game and was really motivated. So, good for him, and we wish him all the best, of course. So
yeah, that's good to see that the NCAA has a heart. Sometimes they're very strict.
Yeah.
These are the rules. Do not waver at all. But that's good to they can go this is bigger than the rules.
Yeah.
They can do that.
I completely agree. It was a good move. It really started to help things, and for people that can't physically go, this is certainly to give them opportunity to help out, and it's panned out in his benefits. So all the best going forward for the Robinson family.
Yeah.
There were a couple opportunities. Actually, it actually feels good, Chris, to have watched a Florida State game, and I don't know that this has been the case in probably almost 2 full seasons, where you go into the fourth quarter just comfortable. Like, hey, we've actually put this game away. You saw it too. There wasn't much to worry about. Really, after you go up 31-10 and Wake Forest just stops moving the ball, it's pretty much over. So a couple of small things Florida State can continue to work on. We did give up a lot really early on. So we gave up 6 or 7 first downs in the first 3 drives. We do put our offense in a 10-hole deficit. Going forward, you mentioned the November schedule that you just can't do that. Wake Forest ran, I think, 35 plays in the first 3 drives and got massive amounts of yards and just continued to gash us. It made it worse that Florida State's first 2 possessions we go 3 and out. Mm-hmm. So can't help them out there. There was a punt return Wake Forest had where we had 3 missed tackles and ended up going for nearly 30 yards. The kicking game, I'm done. I just don't.
You're done?
I'm giving up. I'm punting on the kicker.
Oh, no. Okay. I like that.
Aguayo is 7-11 on the season, and 7-12. At first, I thought it was a pressure thing So I looked back at his missed kicks. I said, okay, 2 were against Virginia Tech. That's opening night. It was a tough game. It was close, right?
Right.
For a while. He missed one against Sanford, which shouldn't have been close, but it was. He goes on a little consecutive kick streak, and then he misses one in the fourth quarter against Miami. Again, that's typical for any FSU kicker. And then he kind of makes it right, but he makes his first kick against Wake Forest and misses his second one when we're up, I don't know, was it 41-10 at that point? Excuse me, 31-10. No reason for that miss. So, 7 of 12, that just can't happen. Yeah, if you're going to move forward and have any kind of success, you have an offense that's clearly struggling, clearly has injuries. You can't be barely hitting 50%.
Yeah.
And I'm disappointed. I'm a kicker guy, as you can see.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
And Aguayo, you just don't have it this year. We probably need to consider Tyler on some of these kicks. That's our punter / kickoff specialist.
Right.
I would even take him, even he's injured, over Aguayo in those pressure situations. And it's sad for me to admit, but just doesn't seem to be the case. Some other small things. We lost a fumble. Early in the third quarter, there was a run that Wake Forest ran. It could have been a touchdown, but it ended up being like a 25-plus yard gain. Just some missed tackles. Can't allow that. For Akers, it seems to be like all or nothing. He did see some signs here where it is 3, 4, 5-yard gains, which I'll take that every day. But there's other times, okay, he's either going to bust it for a touchdown or he's going to lose 2 yards. So I hope he learns to follow his blockers a little better, get out of his rut. The game attendance was not up to par, and I don't like to point this out sometimes, but it ended up being the case that the stands were not full. I mean, come on, you had a free ticket to see T-Pain after the game. Why would you not show up?
Yeah. That alone pays for itself.
Exactly. Now, I understand it also started raining really late in the game, so there wasn't a whole lot of motivation to stay, or maybe it looked empty when it wasn't. I don't know. But tennis game could be better. We did get to see Blackman go late in the game, and that's fine. He could have gone a little earlier, but there was one play where we reversed field, and he got a penalty for blocking in the back. Let's clean that up.
Yeah.
If you're the quarterback, there's no reason you should be exerting yourself that much, number one. And number two, if you are going to do it correctly. And then we give it 2 4-time conversions. But other than that, I think Florida State comes away with a really good win, 38-17. They showed us what they wanted to see all year. Again, taper your expectations, Knowles. This is not the team you're going to see the rest of the year. Wake Forest really, really struggles on defense this season, just like some other teams that we played and looked good against. So just be cautious. It doesn't mean Florida State's back by any means, but it certainly was a Saturday to celebrate.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those games that started off 10-0, and you're like, here we go again. Here, you got to be thinking that. And I think the turning point for me is when Florida State fumbled into the end zone when was it Gavin on that pass, and he's should score and he doesn't, and you're like, I think it's like 10-7 at that time.
Right.
They're going to go up, and they don't go up, and then instantly they get that interception, and then followed it up soon after with a touchdown. And that was kind of the, okay. They dodged that huge bullet, that huge mistake, and now they're, and then after that they were in control. They pretty much shut them down. I would say throughout the whole second half, they scored a late touchdown, like 4 minutes left, but that was meaningless at that point.
Right.
So I think that was the turning point. Once I saw that, I was like, okay, they got this game. And I'm pretty sure a lot of Florida State fans felt a huge sigh of relief. Mm-hmm. And like you said, that second half, not really having to worry probably was different and strange to you, but a good feeling.
Yep. For
sure. I think it's a good bounce-back game, really get them going. But it's going to be tough because you face the top 3 in your own division coming up. Plus you throw in a Notre Dame in the middle of it all. Mm-hmm. So it's real tough. It's a good confidence thing, but how much of a confidence? I think it might really help them for NC State, though. think that one might be a little closer than you expect it to be.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've talked a little bit about, and we can dive into this a bit, Florida State's bowl eligibility from here. So you have the Noles sitting at 4-3.
Yeah.
You go into the next 3-game stretch, and you got Clemson at home, noon game, not favored to win. I don't see a whole lot of opportunity there. We'll get into that later. You go on the road to NC State. Always had trouble with them. You know, we're 12-8 over the last 20 years. Then you go to Notre Dame. That looks tough, but there are some ways you can make it interesting. Then you come back home, Boston College and the Gators. You got to win. You got to win 2 of those games, and you're certainly only maybe favored in one of those. And I think that's probably Boston College.
Right.
But there's certainly ways every team will be favored. It's going to be a struggle. Just to get to a bowl game and then the consecutive winning season streak. This year, it's kind of in jeopardy. But you hope you take this Wake Forest game in stride and say, okay, these are some things that we want to do all season. Now the team knows they can actually work.
Right.
I don't care who you're playing against. It's still a conference win. Now that you have that confidence, it's almost like in basketball. You see a team that misses like 8 straight shots, but then they finally see the ball go through the hoop.
Yeah.
Like, okay, then the dynamic and the psychology changes completely.
Yeah, sometimes a good shooter just needs to get fouled and hit some free throws.
Yes. There you go.
For the same reason. That's
exactly what happened to us. We got fouled.
Yeah.
We hit some free throws. That's really good, Chris.
Yeah, I try.
So yeah, good win for the Noles, for the fan base. You know, taper the expectations, but you certainly can see some benefits, and the offense did some things that you expected. And this is the game we wanted Cam Akers to have every week. It didn't happen, but now we know it's possible. So we'll move forward with that.
Yeah, that's good. I think that the NC State game's going to be closer, maybe even winnable. I think they got BC too. I think they. And who knows with Notre Dame? Notre Dame's good, but they haven't really been dominant. So we'll see. They definitely still have a chance. This is good to at least. And now you know you have a chance, because if you lose this game, forget it. You know.
Yep.
So. Yeah.
Absolutely. Good take. I completely agree with all of that. So there weren't many teams in action this week, Chris, especially down in South Florida. But let's recap the games that did happen.
Yeah. So UF, Miami were on a bye. FAU did play, and they lost big time to Marshall at Marshall. And I gotta be honest, I did not see this one coming. Thought Marshall could win and probably was going to win, but the way they do it, and just 31-7, that's not like FAU. FAU, their defense has been questionable at times, but at least their offense has always been right there, especially with Singletary. But the big story is Marshall forcing 5 turnovers.
Wow.
In their victory. So a bit of a setback for FAU on the road at Marshall.
Yeah, I was really surprised, and we've talked a lot about. I wasn't fully sold on Kiffin, but other people were, and I don't know. Maybe it's Conference USA catching up to the Owls this year. I'm not sure.
Right.
Any other suggestion on just the underperformance of the Owls this season?
I mean, you look at the early schedule. You have Oklahoma and UCF, 2 games you're probably going to lose, but this one they dropped to 3-4 now, and I don't know why. That's maybe they're relying on Singletary too much. He only had 39 yards this game. Quarterback Robinson threw 4 picks. Maybe it is a bit of catching up. Maybe they overstepped last year too early, and I'm not. That's a good question.
Yeah, certainly shocking, and I'm just increasingly upset with myself for picking the wrong conference champions before the season starts. TCU was my other pick for the Big 12. That failed miserably. And then I had FAU, which I think most people would have had. So to see that going south, it's crazy. And I know that you probably rely on a lot of JUCO transfers, and some other guys didn't get scholarship offers from somewhere else. But I'm certainly shocked to see the performance of FAU this season. I really am.
Yeah, me too.
Wow. So let's hope that they can get that right. For most part, I do believe in Kiffin's coaching. So he's going to get something corrected. I don't know what you have left to play for in like a Conference USA the rest of the year, but let's hope that they manage the courage to do so.
Yeah. And you're going to have these games, you're going to have these seasons, and I think last year bought him some more time, and at FAU, he's going to have a lot of time because they're not used to any success. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say just throw away this season, but if you're an FAU fan, know that this is going to happen, but he's still a good coach.
I agree. Well said. All right. So I'll switch over to UCF. And as we mentioned before, I had a few thoughts on this one. The other outlets that cover UCF kind of missed on some facts, so they kind of whiffed.
Oh.
You know, if you look at just the stats, you think, okay, UCF comes away with another comfortable win. The truth of this game is the bigger story was Mackenzie Milton. We all know this guy. Somewhat Heisman finalist contender.
Right.
Great. Had a long consecutive starts all of the last 2 seasons up to this point. And then all of a sudden, no warning, no announcement, Mackenzie Milton doesn't start this game.
Oh.
There was no lead up to this at all.
Right.
All of a sudden, Mac, who's the backup, just ends up rolling out for the first play of the game. Not even the TV announcers knew this was coming. Heupel kept this so secret that there was a complete surprise to everybody, including ECU. So I have a couple of thoughts on why this happened. And actually, by the way, there's been no official announcement on why Mackenzie Milton didn't start this game.
Okay.
So the theories will start to surface. Heupel has stirred up this pot, so let's just dive into it. The theory number one, which has gotten the most traction, and I personally believe, was an injury to Mackenzie Milton.
Okay.
He's had struggles with an ankle injury and then hurt his shoulder against Memphis. So he's kind of dinged up.
Right.
You know? So maybe he sits him knowing that he's a little bit hurt. The second theory was maybe Mackenzie Milton is suspended for some reason. And he hasn't announced it. This one, I don't think really gathered much. The local media in Orlando didn't really find any reason to believe this one to be true. I'm going to go with the third theory, which no one's talking about. And fans, you heard it here first. Chris and I talked about this. This is what we're going with.
Okay.
I think that Heupel sees the rest of his schedule. He sees that the Heisman finalist is probably not in Mackenzie Milton's future. Why? Because he was a Heisman finalist and didn't win.
Okay.
So he sees it right on the wall. And I think he looks at the bye week coming up next week, and then you play Temple on a Thursday night, but then you've got Navy, Cincinnati, USF, not in that order. He looks at ECU, who is the weakest team remaining on UCF's schedule, and says, I can beat this team with my backup quarterback because they are that bad, but I'm not going to tell the media that. And I'm going to start my backup to rest Mackenzie Milton another week. That's my theory.
So he's pulling a Greg Popovich.
Ooh.
Is that what he's doing?
He's going with NBA. I like it. But he can't admit that, right? If he really thinks that ECU is that bad, he can't say that because then he's just a target for ECU the entire week.
Yeah.
And that's what I really think. And you know what? He's absolutely right. ECU is so bad. We've talked about that. Them, North Carolina, and UConn are the worst teams on the East Coast. So why not take that chance here? Why not give your younger guy some experience? Why not take that chance here? And you know what? It paid off just fine. They win 38-10. They didn't struggle against the East Carolina Pirates, even on the road. He knows how bad they are. He knows how easy the schedule is up until November. So this is the perfect chance to do it. So the question only becomes, why not announce it? And here is my thought. The reason he won't announce it is because he knows that he won't send Mackenzie Milton to New York as a Heisman finalist this season. And I think he's saving him for next year because Mackenzie Milton comes back because he's not NFL ready. He's going to really push for Mackenzie Milton next year as a Heisman candidate. So,
okay.
Those are my thoughts on the subject.
Brandon, the conspiracy theorist. I like it. I'm for it. Why not? Let's jump on this one. I was wondering. Well, when you said that, I initially thought suspension, but then I was thinking, well, why didn't he say something?
Right.
They usually say something, even if it's a short. Yeah, he's suspended. So,
yeah.
Why not? I like that. Let's just. But this is if it's interesting. If he does this, if this is true, that's setting a huge precedence for going for other teams going forward.
Yeah.
That might have players that are Heisman candidates.
Well, a few things with this one that makes it a little unique, but yes, I agree other teams can do this, is the fact that he knows that Mackenzie Milton probably isn't quite there on this year, but could get there with a little more stats.
Right.
We all know the media and how they're talking about UCF's strength of schedule, which is around 88, 90, depending on which poll you look at.
Right.
The numbers, of course, still speak for themselves. But so you have to have someone borderline number one, so that is in their favor. But number two, you have to be confident the guy that you're doing this for comes back next year.
Right.
And I don't think there's any question on that. Mackenzie Milton, depending on who comes out this year, and just because of his height, I know there's the debate on the height because Drew Brees is, 5'10".
Yeah.
But when you consider some other factors, I don't think he's NFL ready. So you're pretty confident Mackenzie Milton comes back for his senior season.
Yeah,
So
true.
if you don't have both of those in play, then you probably don't take a chance like this. Now, again, this is our theory. We're maybe stretching a bit, but I'm pretty confident in this one. I think Josh Heupel sees the writing on the wall. He knows what he has next year. Let's give Mackenzie Milton an extra week off and see what happens.
Now, did you come up with this theory and jump on it, or someone else? I guess, did you come up with this theory, or did you jump on it?
To my knowledge, Chris, no one else has come up with this.
Okay, I like that.
This is all me.
I like that a lot. Yes, I'm on board.
Okay.
I think that Heupel is a mastermind. He is pulling strings that we didn't know existed. He's thinking ahead of the curve, outside the box, all that.
The other thing at play here is that he has to be admitting to himself in the back of his mind, if to no one else, that UCF really doesn't have a shot at the college football playoff.
Okay.
Because that's the other thing at play here, where you say, if there's any chance UCF finishes in the top 4, I have to blow out teams.
Right.
And I know there's a lot in the media swirling around with this, and I'm just going to say one statement, Chris, if that's okay. We've talked about this enough. The media will cover it enough. And I'm going to say one thing about UCF going undefeated, and here it is. This is all to all the UCF fans. Pretend that you aren't going to make the college football playoff, and you're going to enjoy this season so much more. Right? What I don't want to happen with Knight fans, you win a game, hey, we're victorious, the streak goes to whatever, if they win this week it's 21, and then 24 hours later you look at the AP and the coaches poll and you say, I'm now upset that we didn't move up.
Right.
And let's face the reality here, guys. That's going to continue to happen. If you just pretend, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm saying if you pretend, hey, we're not going to make it this year, I can just enjoy one victory at a time.
Right.
Then you're going to enjoy college football way more, which is the entire intent of the sport. Go out and enjoy a victory.
Yeah.
Get the W. Just pretend like you're not going to finish in the top 4, and you're going to enjoy the season a whole lot more than you are now.
Okay. Lower expectations.
Not for your team, but for everything surrounding the game. Yeah.
Hope for the best, expect the worst.
There you go.
There we go.
So.
And you'll be happy.
Yes. Because UCF's going to be favored every game the rest of this year. South Florida's going to be a doozy like it was before. I'll talk about the Bulls here in a second. But if you're a UCF fan, just enjoy the ride, man.
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
Yeah. It's a good one. 20 in a row, that's any reason to celebrate. So
for real. Most schools cannot say
Exactly. Any other South Florida teams in action? I think we covered them all, right?
We got FIU.
Oh, FIU. Okay, and then I'll go to the Bulls. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. They hosted Rice, who's not good at football, and they beat them 36-17. 17, sorry. Nothing fancy. They controlled them the whole game, and Rice continues to be not good. So FIU's played pretty good this year for an FIU team. I'm going to say that a lot for FIU.
Right.
They're playing pretty good, having themselves a nice season.
Yeah.
But they handled their business against a quite lesser opponent.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said about being on track for a bowl game that brings in some revenue for the school, and no reason they've had some ups and downs, but to compete at the level they're doing, that's great. Good for them.
Yeah. They're clawing their way up there.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
God.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. I got to work on mine now. That was.
No, you've had some good ones
Have you?
today. You really have.
Okay. All right. You set the bar higher. That's what I can say there.
Thank you.
And the only other team in Florida in action was the South Florida Bulls. I'm done. I'm done with the Bulls. I just don't. I don't know this team anymore. Can I punt on them?
Man, no one knows this team. They don't even know them.
I'm tired of this. It's
they just keep winning. That's all they.
And against bad teams, but
Yeah.
It's not even impressive. Okay, so let me tell you this real quick. So there is such thing as college football fantasy.
Yeah.
You can draft teams. I actually went out this week. I took a risk. I said, I know that UConn is one of the worst teams in Division I. So any defense that plays them should have success, right?
Right.
I'm going to go draft the South Florida Bulls defense to get some extra points this week. No.
Psych.
Yeah, they gave up 30 points from one of the worst teams in D1, and it was pathetic. You let them hang around repeatedly, and it's not like, oh no, we put them away and they scored garbage time touchdowns. No, it's like you got up by 2 scores, you let them score again. Got up by 2, they let them score. They win 38-30, and I'm not impressed. It's frustrating just to follow this team. You just don't know what you're getting, and I'm just done.
Bypass Bulls, strike again.
Oh God, yes.
No, we're sticking with that. We're sticking with that.
I thought we might bypass that one, but
okay.
I couldn't.
All right. Is this a dad joke podcast now? Is that what we've turned into?
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. It's just call it what it is.
Yeah, maybe there. So I just but the Bulls win. They remain undefeated. They're still ranked. From the UCF perspective, you want the Bulls to continue to win. You wanted the Cincinnati Bearcats to continue to win, but they lost to an unranked Temple.
I know.
So there you go. That hurts their chances. I think eventually that would have happened anyway. Cincinnati was probably the worst undefeated team, and now the Bulls are. So, be that as it may, it is what it is. Yeah. I've talked enough about the Bulls. I'm done for right now. Maybe next week, if they do well, I'll talk about them again, but I just can't add anything else.
You're just done.
Yeah, I just can't.
You're done. All right. So that's it for reviews, and let's switch over to previews.
Yeah.
Huge weekend coming up for our teams.
Yep.
And we'll start with the Gators, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. They had a bye week, and so did their opponent, and that is Georgia. So this is looking to be a top 10 clash, and so many different feelings going into this game. You're trying to get last year's game, that blowout, behind you. You are looking to play a rival. Game day is going to be there. And you're like, okay, this is number 17. They were number 2. I'm feeling good about our team, but I'm not feeling good enough. I'm really worried about them, and a lot of stuff that they do. a lot of people are patting us on the back, saying we're really good. A lot of people are telling them, "Oh, you just lost. You're not good." And a lot of Gator fans are starting to talk a little bit more, chirp a little bit more, and I'm just like, I just don't know about this game. I'm still worried. But having said that, I am so happy to be here in this position because going into the season, especially after last season, if you'd have told me that we were going to be a top 10 team when we play Georgia, and we have a decent chance of winning, I would say you are crazy. You are straight up crazy. So I am just happy that we are playing good enough to be at a game day game. We're playing good enough to be considered in the East. We're playing good enough to have a chance to win Georgia and to be in the top 10. I'm just happy to be here. And I don't think that we're going to win. I think it'll be close. I think we keep it close to, say, 3, 4, 5 points. But just the fact that I think it's going to be that close, it says a lot about where we are. And I'm just happy to be here. I really am. The things that concern me the most about Georgia is their running game.
Yeah.
Holyfield and Swift. Those are some impressive running backs. And that's one thing that we've struggled with, especially runs right up the middle. So I'm worried about that. I like our linebackers. I don't like our depth at linebacker. I don't like our D tackles. I love our D ends. So that kind of gives me area of concern for sure. He's didn't really scare me too much. He's got decent receivers. Fields scares me more, and I expect to see him in, especially not seeing him in at LSU.
You do, okay?
Yeah, I expect to see him. I don't know if he starts, but I'd be shocked if you don't see him. So that running game is what really concerns me, and they do have a pretty good defense. I think we're going to be all right moving the ball, but their defense is pretty nasty, and they force turnovers, and they've really gotten their. I think the offense starts slow, and it's usually the defense will force a turnover and run it for a touchdown, and really sparks their offense. Our defense kind of does that too, but I'm just not real sure about this game. I like their kicker, Blankenship, and so I know that's usually special teams is an area where we have dominated all year, but I like their special teams too. I'm kind of worried. And the main thing is it's 2 weeks of everyone saying the Gators are the greatest, and 2 weeks of saying Georgia's not. We play better when we're the underdog. We play better when we have zero chance of winning. So I'm not really sure about this game. I think there's plenty of ways to win. And I think if we win the turnover battle, I think we do win. But that's an if. I think our defense can force turnovers, but their defense will also force turnovers. So I think that's going to be key. And can we stop the running game? If we somehow can stop the running game and force them to pass to where Polite, Zuniga, and Jefferson can rush the quarterback, we get some corner blitzes or something, I think we really can have a real good shot to win. I just don't know if it's going to happen. I'm just not confident to say that we're gonna do that though.
Okay, that's a really good take. I think from my side, I look at the Gators as a team that's almost like a jack of all trades and a master of none. But by that I mean it's like you walk out of the tunnel. Okay, who's gonna win the game for us today? Okay, special teams. Okay, you go. And then today it's defense. You're gonna win it. And offense, especially as Vanderbilt. Okay, you win it today.
Right.
And that's a good problem to have, but it also lends itself to too much balance, and you may not rely on your strengths quite enough.
Yeah.
And I look at Georgia's recruiting, like you mentioned, the running attack. We all know just how dominant that is. and just how weird it is to look at an LSU game where that's not successful for some reason or not called upon enough. And the athletes and the team cohesion. I'm going to take Georgia here. I think probably by 9 or 10 is my thought. This as you said, there are a lot of ways Florida can win this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that Dan Mullen does not shy away from his bag of tricks. He'll try a trick play, and he's done it 3 or 4 times this year, and it's meant the difference between a victory and a loss.
Right.
And so, good for him to keep that option open. A lot more teams are moving away from like the punting on 4th down. They'll actually go for it. Mullins decided to go with the route of, I'm going to throw a trick play in here and there to throw the defense off guard.
Right.
And that's how Florida keeps it close, in my opinion, but too many horses. I think Georgia wins, but Florida will certainly keep it close and respectable for sure.
Yeah. I think we give them 3 quarters, and I think it might even be late in the game where we're nipping at their heels. But I wouldn't be so. I think, we're down by a field goal. And we're trying to score or something like that, and we just can't. Some kind of scenario where we need 3, 4, 5 points, and we have the ball. I don't know, but I like positives. I like our running game. I like the fact that we have, almost 8 deep at receiver, because no star receiver, but all of them, even our tight ends. Again, no standout tight end, but you have to account for everyone that steps on the field. I do like that. I really do like that. Felipe, he isn't really, throwing it to where he's breaking records and all this stuff, but he's not really hurting us too much. He's had his moments where he has, but he's not losing us games. If he can keep that up, and if we get some turnovers and he doesn't turn over, I think we're going to have a really good shot to win that game. I just don't know if it's going to happen. I just don't know if we can. Their defense all they do is force turnovers.
Right.
I just don't know if we can do that.
Yep. It's certainly been an interesting one, and you're right. The first 3 quarters, if it's not close, I'll be very shocked.
Right.
So.
But I'm happy that I'm even considering, this. Like the fact that I could say we could go 3 quarters with them, maybe even most of 4. Is just phenomenal, and I'm happy. I'm very happy with this.
Very good point. You're right. To get up to that caliber again, to be competitive with one of the top 5 teams in the nation, you should be proud. Absolutely.
Yeah.
On the other hand, another program that's not going to be competitive with the top 5 program. The Noles are nowhere close to the caliber of Clemson Tigers. And I'm sorry to say, it's just not going to happen this year. Like you said, there are some ways that we can keep it close. As Nole fans, it starts with the defensive line, which is clearly the strength of our team this year. But Clemson has every aspect of the game beat, except for maybe punt returns. That's the only thing we have an advantage on.
Right.
And, Trevor Lawrence has showed that he can throw the ball. I think it's pronounced ATN of the Clemson running back team. Clearly can't be stopped. That's where you can only hang some kind of a semblance of a hat on a rack, is that we stop the rushing attack a little bit.
Right.
But it's almost a matter of, okay, let's just do what we can to slow them down a bit and minimize the damage. Like on this drive, can we give up 3, not 7 kind of deal.
Right.
But there's too much Clemson.
They're playing really good right now, too.
They are. And don't get me wrong, there are ways that Florida State can slow it down. And, if you play this game 100 times, maybe 5 of those Florida State will win. But, it depends on a lot of variance, a lot of luck.
Right.
Do Florida State does Florida State? Does Florida State?
Do Florida State.
Okay.
Whatever.
Do you, Florida State?
There we go. Like it. Nice save.
Does Florida State force enough turnovers to make this a game? Is there any kind of luck that rolls the Noles' way? It is at home, but, Vegas agrees that's a 3 or 4 point advantage at most. there's just not enough talent there. Considering you're going up against the top defensive line in the country, according to my opinion, and we have one of the worst offensive lines in the country, there's just no match. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's just...
Noel fans, flashback to the second half of the Miami game, flashback to Virginia Tech, flashback to nearly anyone else, where you have maybe a 2-star guy on their defensive line that's making your offensive line look silly and just missing tackles, mostly Syracuse. That's what this game's going to be like. And don't complain in the refs when you get a holding call, because that's the only way they're going to be able to stop them. Don't complain when there's 3 consecutive 3-and-outs, because it's going to happen. Just hope that you can get play calling where Francois can release the ball quickly, where this game you're going to have to use Cam Akers more as a wide receiver than a running back, because the holes are not going to be there like they were against Wake Forest. Mm-hmm. Try some trick plays. Try some things here and there that are going to throw them off balance. Maybe, hopefully, Taggart has some stuff that Clemson hasn't seen yet. But also, don't expect to win here. I'm just going to be honest. Like 17. Yeah. That's pretty realistic. We come off of a Wake Forest win where you think things are going the right direction, but it also is just the caliber athlete you were facing up against. So, don't get me wrong, there's ways we can keep it competitive, but there's way more ways that Clemson wins this game pretty easily and continues on strong.
Yeah, I'm thinking of ways. I think you should go like you do in some people do in NCAA football for the PlayStation, where they just go Hail Mary every play.
No.
They need to switch it up like that. Just go completely outside the box. Every play, just throw it down. Because what's going to happen? Okay, the worst is you go 3-and-out. Probably going to happen anyways. Yep. Throw it downfield. You might get a pass interference. You might actually catch it. Or if they intercept it, it's an early punt.
It's like a punt. There you go. And, we show that Tamarian Terry has big play capability. He can catch it on the field. So
Gavin can do that too.
There you go. Yeah, Gavin, there you go. So
all goes. Every play.
And I was talking about the kicking game with Aguayo. This is like the worst time for him to have a slump, because if you have any chance of keeping it close in a game like this, you would hope your kicker would be something you can rely upon if a drive comes up short. And that's just not the case. And so, like Florida State's been doing the last month, you're going to have to go for it on 4th down, no matter what the distance is, if you're anywhere across midfield.
Yeah.
So
the Gators had a kicker sounded similar. In 2005, Chris Hetland, he's a walk-on kicker. kicks everything. Makes everything, right? End of the year, Meyer gives him a scholarship. In 2006, he couldn't hit nothing. I don't even know if that's right. I don't have that proper English or not, but
it's all right.
He was so bad I can't speak English. That's how bad he was. And it was just the weirdest thing. Like, we know that you're capable of this. We saw it all last year. You were clutch for us. And this year, thankfully, we had other good players, and we ended up winning that year. But it was a weird, like, just a night and day. So it sounds very similar.
I totally remember that. If a Florida State fan can remember a Florida Gator kicker, that means he had some kind of impression. And for him, it was Hetland could not make anything. And Urban Meyer's reasoning was, hey, he made it in practice.
Yeah. Made in practice. Well, this is not practice.
Yeah. Obviously, I hope that I'm wrong, and then Noles can get some things done. They catch a couple breaks. Maybe like the Miami game, they keep it close for a while. Heck, I would love it, obviously, if the Noles can pull an upset here, because you're going to need one somewhere in the last 5 games. Might as well get it out of the way, but I don't see it. And I think whatever the spread is, I think I said it was finally 17. I think Clemson covers that. I really do. But I also said Miami would, and they only won by 1. So.
Right. Miami and Clemson are a little bit different.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Little bit. Speaking of Miami, they have a game Friday night at Boston College.
Oh, good for them.
They had I think I would normally pick Boston College for the upset, but Miami was coming off a bye. off that Virginia loss. I think they rebound. I think it's going to be close, though. I think it's going to be real close, but I think Miami rebounds with a win this week.
Yeah, I was seeing rumors A.J. Dillon comes back, and that means a lot for the team. That's certainly, they've always built their team around rushing attack and good defense, and so if he's back, that makes a little bit of difference. But you're right, the revenge factor, I got to prove myself to my teammates and my coach kind of mentality. I figure Miami's gonna be fine. The only thing tricky here is the Friday night factor.
Right.
Where it's a shortened week, but that doesn't affect the Hurricanes, and I don't know if Boston College comes by, but even if it does, it's the ACC teams are kind of used to this, so it really shouldn't.
Yeah. They should be fine.
Yeah. All right. Central Florida, UCF is actually coming off of a bye week, so a little time to rest. We talked about that with Mackenzie Milton, and then South Florida is going to play Houston. So going with the Cougars. Now, Houston is actually the best team in the American West, and they're probably at this point favored to win the division and play either UCF or South Florida. Whoever wins the West, I figure it's still UCF. And because I'm done with USF, I just hope that Houston destroys them. I hope it's not even close.
Yeah.
Expose USF for what they are, which is not a great team. They haven't beat anyone good. Go ahead and put it out. Now, for UCF's sake, you want South Florida to be undefeated when they play, but they're not a very good team, and so these are the types of games you figure they would fail in.
Yeah, it would make sense for them to lose this one. I agree.
Yep.
Totally makes sense. All right, next we have FAU. They host Louisiana Tech. Again, Friday night. It's a toss-up game, but going into the season, you'd think they would easily handle La Tech, but now I'm not so sure. Louisiana Tech is looking like the better team. They're 5-2 in the year, 3-1 in the conference, and let's see. It's a good gauge to see how well these guys respond to a tough loss.
Mm-hmm.
A winnable game for sure, but now it's a coin toss. Yeah. But it's like a short week, though. Like you said, Friday night game. I would probably take La Tech barely, just because FAU did not look good last week.
Okay, I totally understand. I'm still going to keep my faith in the Owls. I'm going to take them to win this one, but it's like you said, there's no way to know what team shows up. Will Singletary be stopped again? Does a quarterback play pick up where it should? But I've been Louisiana Tech. I have family around that area. It's just not a football area.
Okay.
It's just not much there. Even as close as Texas as you are, don't pretend. You need to be actually in Texas to contend in football in that area. So, nope. I'm going to take the Owls.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then we have FIU is going to Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky, again, not so good at football. So I think FIU handled business against the what are the Catamounts? What are they?
The Hilltoppers.
Hilltoppers. What's the Catamounts?
Catamounts.
Is that another Kentucky team?
Yeah. Eastern Kentucky, maybe?
I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking Kentucky Wildcats. I'm combining some. Anyways, they play Western Kentucky, and they're probably going to beat Western Kentucky.
I'm certain no fans will correct us on that one.
Yeah.
Sure. Catamounts. But honestly, if we can't think of it, it's not important enough to know. So
True. Very true.
Yeah. So quite a game there. I think we covered everybody coming up next week.
Mm-hmm.
But any final thoughts on the preview of next week's season? I mean, we're almost in November now, Chris.
I know. Weird.
Yeah.
Very, very weird. It is fun to reflect back on where we thought our teams would be and how close. Not just our two teams, but all the teams around the state.
Yep.
We're starting to see who they are now.
Yeah, starting to separate for certain. And I was looking back and pondering on our preseason predictions, and I'm doubtful Florida State wins a game in the next three stretches. I've been honest about that. But I also thought we'd have a better record going into this stretch.
Okay.
And so it's a little disheartening to see that things have gone the way they have. But there's also a silver lining that the coaching staff has adjusted fairly well and figured out some things where we can win some games. But to know that we have to pull an upset somewhere, and I'm including the Gators in that, having to beat them is not going to be easy. I know there's ways that coming toward Thanksgiving weekend, Florida State may have an advantage. Maybe if Florida's in a position to win the East and is looking ahead. But generally, we're not the better team, and we're going to have to find some kind of way to make it happen for us. And I don't see a lot of ways that can happen. So, it's going to be tough to see a way that Florida State keeps the bowl streak alive.
I'm still not 100% sold on UF beating Florida State, because
really,
if Florida State needs one more win to be bowl eligible, and that one win is Florida, the rival at home, I don't know. I don't like that scenario.
Well, hope you're right. But it's clear, if we had to re-rank the teams in Florida, it's a debate whether or not it's UCF or the Gators, and they're right there in all the polls, AP and coaches,
right?
And it's tough to say. And just like the Clemson game, there are ways Florida can keep it close, but I don't know. I think you and I are both a little pessimistic on our teams, and so we undersell them a little bit.
Yeah, the last several years have made me pessimistic.
Yeah, understandably. So it certainly will not be a dull November, as it never is. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, real quickly, before you talk about how fans can reach out to us and correct our errors, we've talked a little bit, or maybe we haven't, about the new Alliance of American Football team, the Orlando Apollos.
Yeah.
If we haven't talked about it yet, real quickly, this is a new league that's starting. Only 10 teams have been granted a franchise, and it's a football league that runs from February to April. It's not supposed to compete with the NFL. It's not supposed to be arena football, but it's actually a league that will house a lot of teams that are regionally drafted and give players a chance that can't make an NFL roster a chance to play professional football.
Yeah.
So this is an exciting league that's coming, and we cover the teams in the state of Florida. Well, the city of Orlando has a franchise coming, Chris, and they're called the Orlando Apollos.
Nice.
Double meaning. Apollo as a reference to the space program, right? All the Apollo missions land on the moon, etc. But also I'm not going to throw a Greek analogy. I think it's the Roman gods of mythology.
I was going to go Greek until you said Roman. Now I'm second guessing.
It could be one of the two. I'm actually not going to be...
It's Greco-Roman, that's what it is.
Greco-Roman, okay, there you go.
There we go, a little bit of both.
But it's a reference to the sun, as in the Sunshine State.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got you now.
So that's the extent of my knowledge. I'm not going to pretend to know anymore. But for the fans, just a teaser. It looks like in the next couple of weeks we're going to have a little more information and maybe a special guest about the Orlando Apollos coming toward the city of Orlando. So stay tuned for that. We appreciate your listenership.
Yeah, anytime we get more football, it's a good thing. So
absolutely. And the bigger thing about this is it's going to give a lot of players in the state of Florida a second chance. UCF, Gators, Seminoles, Bulls, Owls, Panthers. Did I leave Hurricanes. Yeah, that was intentional. I was about to say. Which is funny because a Hurricane player may be one of the top players in the team, but we'll leave that for next week or so.
Teaser, I like it.
Yeah. But other than that, we got some talk about that coming up. What are some of the ways fans get in touch with us? We have a lot of ways fans can give us feedback and get in touch with the show. So how are the ways they can do that?
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of ways. Started off with our website at FloridaFocusPodcast.libsyn.com, Libsyn, Libsyn. Facebook and YouTube, Florida Focus Podcast. Twitter, at Florida Focus Pod. You can email us, FloridaFocusPodcast podcast at yahoo.com. And please, you can tell us about how the Catamounts are from Western Carolina and not Kentucky. And then Snapchat and Instagram, FL Focus Pod, and our Patreon account.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Actually, we're throwing a little bonus in here for anybody that's considering Patreon that wants to donate. For the rest of this month of October, if you become a $1 subscriber a month, which we'd greatly appreciate, we're going to throw in our secret episodes for free.
Yes.
Normally that's a $5 diamond package, but we're going to give it to you now at no additional charge. Plus, of course, the private Facebook page and the welcome package. So how about that?
Love it.
Yep. All right. So, man, a lot of things we covered. It's certainly a huge week for both of us, and we didn't expect to be underdogs, but here we are. Any last thoughts before we sign off for the day, Chris?
No, if anyone heard a loud screeching noise, there's a stupid bird outside.
Okay.
That loves to just yell randomly. Some kind of crane.
It's the
I don't know.
It's the Florida nature around us. We can't help it.
Yeah.
We're lucky we haven't had it at this point, but
every now and then, this stupid thing, just loves to just yell in the middle of the night. So
it's the podcast mascot. What can we say?
Yeah. Okay.
Can't help it.
Oh, now you're gonna make me want to like it. Oh, great.
Yeah.
All right.
Good stuff. Well, appreciate the time, Chris, and thank you for the fans. Give us a subscribe and a 5-star rating on iTunes, and give us your feedback. We'd love to hear how the show's going, what we can start, what we can stop, and what we can continue. So I'm going to say this is Brandon, and go Noles.
Go Gators.